the story of William Wordsworth, the master poet. In a land where the air seemed alive with ancient whispers and the hills guarded secrets of centuries past, a child was born into a world of sublime nature and mystery. On a cool April morning in 1770, a small, quaint village in Cumberland, England, welcomed a young William Wordsworth. The gentle murmur of the River Derwent and the steady heartbeat of the fells set the stage for a life that would transform poetry. From his first cries amid the rugged Lake District, a powerful connection with nature began to weave itself into every fiber of his being. Chapter 1. Childhood among the Fells. William Wordsworth grew up in a modest home where love mingled with hardship. His father served as a legal agent for a noble lord, and his mother nurtured the family despite challenges. Even in those early days, the majesty of the natural world was impossible to ignore. The sweeping vistas of valleys and peaks stirred awe in young William. As he played among the wild, he learned that beauty was not confined to gardens. It was an essence that permeated every rock and stream. In those moments, a young mind began to absorb nature as both solace and inspiration. Chapter 2. Loss and Solace. The early years of his life were not without sorrow. When the comfort of his mother was taken from him at a tender age, his world darkened. The grief was compounded when his father passed away a few years later. Orphaned, and left with memories that burned with pain and tenderness, William grasped tightly to the canvas of nature. The hills and valleys extended their arms as if to console a wounded heart. Each breeze and rustling leaf became a mentor in resilience. In the solitude of the Lake District, he learned that nature possessed a voice more enduring than mortal presence. Chapter 3. The Bond with Dorothy. With his beloved sister Dorothy by his side, the wild landscapes assumed a new dimension. Their shared explorations through meadows and along ancient paths forged a bond as timeless as the mountains. Dorothy was both a confidant and a guiding muse, recording in careful words the interplay of light and shadow, the textures of rock and water, the silent conversations between earth and sky. Their days were spent wandering amidst the beauty of rural England, where every hill told a story and every glen held the promise of transformation. Together they witnessed the interplay of the seasons that gave rise to cycles of growth and reflection. Chapter 4. Lessons beyond the classroom. Education in those early days came in the guise of experiences rather than formal lessons. Even the lessons learned at Hawkshead Grammar School acquired a lyrical quality for one so attuned to the cadence of nature. Lessons in Latin and rhetoric merged with outdoor excursions where the clamor of modern life was replaced by the song of the lark and the murmur of ancient streams. The young Wordsworth took in the classical tales of heroism and tragedy, while the natural world offered him his own epic narrative. In the quiet solitude of pastoral settings, he discovered that the earth was a vast repository of wisdom, offering life lessons in every sunrise and every dewdrop. Chapter 5. The World Beyond the Lake District. While the beauty of nature sculpted his spirit, a turbulent world was unfolding beyond the Lake District. The rise of revolutionary ideas in distant lands found their echo in the heart of the young poet. Rumors of change whispered across the narrow lanes of Cockermouth. The revolutionary spirit imbued even the quiet corners of rural England. The French Revolution unfurled a dramatic epoch in history that seduced William with dreams of liberty and equality. He journeyed to France and witnessed the fervor of mass action firsthand. The streets of Paris pulsed with hope and upheaval as citizens demanded a new order. Yet even as the promise of rebirth glittered on the horizon, the violent storm of the Reign of Terror cast long shadows of disillusionment over the idealistic heart of a young poet. The dissonance between lofty ideals and the cruelty of reality left its mark, deepening a sensitivity to the cost of change that would echo in his later words. Chapter 6. Nature as Teacher and Healer. In those years of youthful exploration and stirring passions, every gust of wind and every ray of sunlight carried symbolic meaning. The natural world became an endless theater where beauty and brutality performed their eternal dance. The clouded skies over the rolling hills and the shimmering surfaces of tranquil lakes invoked an awareness of nature as an enigmatic force that was both nurturing and indifferent. At times nature was an affectionate mother offering consolation after loss, and at others a stern teacher reminding him of transience and change. Those early impressions were the raw material of his future verse. They steeped his imagination with a reverence for the world that no sorrow or turmoil could utterly blunt. Chapter 7. The Solitude of Youth. As the boy grew into youth, his mind brimmed with questions about the place of man in a vast, impersonal cosmos. The solitude that had once been a source of comfort now became a passage to introspection. Wandering alone on wind-swept moors, his eyes captured scenes of sublime beauty and his heart recorded the secret rhythms of nature. He discovered that in the gentle caress of the breeze lay a language older than words, in the murmuring of the trees, a timeless dialogue between earth and sky. Even amid personal loss and turbulent societal change, the symbols of the natural world held firm as constant signposts pointing to an eternal truth. Each flight of birds and each ripple on a mountain stream whispered of something larger than the transient concerns of human life. Chapter 8. Seeds of Genius. In this crucible of beauty and grief, the future poet was formed. The desolation wrought by personal tragedies was softened by the mesmerizing grandeur of the untamed world. The relentless march of seasons and the ceaseless rhythm of nature became the canvas upon which he would later paint his visions and emotions. His tender verses would swell with the natural beauty that had once soothed him during lonely nights, and his reflective odes would capture the bittersweet passage of fleeting time. The early chapters of his life were irretrievably bound to the landscapes that stirred and shaped his inner life. Those first encounters with loss and wonder were not merely memories, but the very seeds from which an entire poetic revolution would later sprout. Chapter 9. Anchored by Nature. Even in the midst of youthful idealism and passionate encounter with revolutionary fervor, the young Wordsworth remained anchored by that abiding love for nature. His footsteps on the ancient pathways of the Lake District were as deliberate as his silent observations of the play of light upon the water. Every rock and every glen took on the role of a mentor in a vast school without walls. It was there that he learned how to listen with an attentive ear to the sounds of the earth and to see with a profound clarity the hidden beauty beneath the ordinary. In those formative years, the poet discovered that nature held the power to heal even the most wounded heart, and that in its vast expanse lay all the answers to life and loss. Chapter 10. The Unfolding Spirit. This early period of his existence was marked by a slow but steady unfolding of wonder and introspection. The wild hills and serene lakes of northern England were not merely a backdrop for his life, but the very essence of his developing spirit. The world around him was alive with meaning, and every moment outdoors was a lesson in endurance and renewal. In the interplay of shadow and light, he saw the dual nature of existence not as a contradiction, but as an integral whole where sorrow and joy danced together in quiet harmony. Conclusion. The final chapter. The boy from Cockermouth grew into a young man whose heart was an archive of wind-swept memories, and whose soul resonated with the eternal voice of the wild. His first verses blossomed quietly in the solitude of woodlands, where the silent observance of nature became the first tentative lines of lyric verse. His language would come to mirror the cadence of the natural world, its ebb and flow, its gentle rise and inevitable fall. Every aspect of his early life was suffused with a rich, textured beauty that made the world appear vibrant and interconnected. As he stepped into adulthood, the legacy of those childhood days promised not only to shape a poet, but to redefine the very meaning of art itself, honed by an honesty, a tapestry of holistic architecture, romanticized by nature and introspection. The wild beauty of his homeland was his constant guide, an endless source of inspiration. In these experiences, the essential spirit of William Wordsworth was born, a spirit that would later stand as a beacon of hope and beauty. In a world often indifferent to the subtle miracles of life, the journey from enchanted childhood to the threshold of artistic genius was one of quiet persistence and soulful discovery. Every heartbreak and joyous revelation became woven into his understanding. The wild places of the Lake District did not merely witness his growth. They nurtured him like an ancient guardian whose lessons would echo throughout time. Here, in the interplay of light and shadow, the future poet found the courage to dream and the strength to express the ineffable truths of the natural world.